Hello and welcome back to Bricking It. So this week I've been doing a bit of tidying up work, haven't really come up with any new MOCs, but in the process I realised something. I've got quite a lot of wizarding homes in my collection. I don't know if homes is the best word, accommodation maybe? But anyway, we're going to have a quick review now of all of the different home locations that I've got in my display collection. All of these are hidden scenes, so they will all start off with this book cover back, because one of the conceits of my collection is that I don't display everything all the time, only when I'm displaying a particular story. So when they're not on display, they are hidden away and look like a row of books on the shelf. So this is the first one. We're going to go through in chronological order, I should say that as well. Also, I should say that the gas man is digging up the road outside my house, so if I suddenly switch to voiceover, that's why. Anyway, our first wizarding home, and probably the most obvious, is of course number 4, Privet Drive. Now this has got a weird box underneath the display, and we'll get to that in a moment, but this is our Privet Drive set. As you see, currently set up for Aunt Marge's visit, using my MOC Aunt Marge. Haven't got the new Privet Drive yet, still waiting to decide whether to go full out and buy the set, if there's any bits in there that I can use that will enhance my displays, or whether I'm just going to find the minifigs somewhere. Now, as I said, this is sitting on this strange box, and the reason for that is because this backdrop, this display, actually works for all of the different scenes set in this house. So you can see lots of bits here. Now I could get these out and show you each of the different scenes, but what I'm going to do instead is direct you to the individual videos I've made on each of these. Now you can find these on my change of scene playlist, and each one focuses on a different visit to number 4 Privet Drive across the various stories. Now I don't mean just across the movies, because there are Privet Drive scenes that are in the books that aren't in the movies, and I've tried to capture at least one for every year, so we get the interior scenes from Privet Drive. There are also a couple of exterior scenes at Privet Drive, and so I also have an exterior display. This doesn't look much like Privet Drive at the moment. Give me a second. So here we have all the elements, obviously, for that first scene outside Privet Drive. Professor McGonagall as a cat and as a human. There's baby Harry and Professor Dumbledore. Now this is just literally a facade. Oh, look, even got Harry up in the window there for Chamber of Secrets. So it's just a facade, just so you can see the outside of the building. There's no roof on this, there's no garage, there's no extras, because really this scene is about the only one, except maybe when we have the what they called Order of the Phoenix comes to pick up Harry, and they're all lined up outside with the advance guard, and I could display that, or even the 7 Potters all ready to take off before they go and have the fight. Of course I've got my Hagrid's motorcycle, so I can add that to this scene, even though it doesn't have the I was going to say bumper car, that's not right, sidecar in that scene, so I can have Harry on his motorcycle. Hagrid on his motorcycle. This is why I do voiceovers. I never get anything right. So I do have an exterior for number 4 Privet Drive amongst my collection. Going chronologically, the next home we see is the Hut and the Rock. Now this shares a display with the zoo visit. Of course, all of these displays have got their own videos, so you can see how I put that together. And the Hut on the Rock is just a very small display, really just somewhere to store that tile. It's the only scene that it appears in, and of course Dudley with his pigtail. So I've used one of the door stickers from Hagrid's hut, I want to say, maybe the Shrieking Shack. And of course we've got Hagrid and Dudley, and Hagrid's missing his umbrella. Where has that gone? Anyway, that is our next home, I suppose, in chronological order. So now we have this huge stack of book covers which actually house 4 different scenes, and our next look is actually part of this. I just wanted to show you the back of the display before we go inside. So let's go and look at that now. So here's the bottom slice of our display, and this is the next house we're introduced to chronologically, and that is of course the Burrow. So first up, elephant in the room. Not sure about these rafters. They are there, they don't get in the way of the minifigs, so they're not too much of an issue. They sort of give an idea of the low ceiling, but they do block light. So, do I keep them? I don't know. Let me know what you think about them. Bear in mind, these are usually stored on a higher shelf, so I'm going to be looking up at these modulars, usually, so they don't really obscure my view because I'm not looking down. But anyway, let's have a look inside the Burrow. We're having a focus issue. There we go. There's Molly. And Arthur sitting in his armchair over there. Got the cupboards. This is all modelled after the Chamber of Secrets version. And this used to be one of my displays that I had folded up and stored away in a book. Focus machine. But now I've given it this dedicated base so it can stay out. There's no real benefit to them being packed away, and they had to share a floor with other spaces, which I'll show you shortly. But I just thought, you know, let's give them the room they deserve. This back door has changed from when I created this module first, and it's going to change again because I've only got a red door the right size and I've got a yellow one coming. But we can see the crockery cabinet and the backsplash behind the multiple taps on the sink. We've got the seedlings, the stickered windows that came from the Burrow set. Got the dresser here, various other features of the Burrow. I don't know what's going on with my camera right now. But there is the Burrow, and that's our next Wizarding World scene. And of course this can be used across the various iterations of the house. In the movies, after Bellatrix and Greyback, after Bellatrix and Greyback attack the Burrow, obviously it needs to be remodelled. So in the later movies they've actually whitewashed everything inside, so we don't have the same colour. They've had a slight remodel, different furniture and things, so it looks different in the later films. I'm not going to do an updated version. I'm just going to leave it like this because this is the Burrow I always think of, this early Chamber of Secrets version. Now I do have the latest D2C Ultimate Collector's Burrow, and I'm obviously going to be at some point biting the bullet and actually opening that. Going to build it. I've got nowhere to display it, but I do know that somewhere in my collection is Bill, Charlie and the rest of the Weasley family. Obviously we don't feature things like the fireplace in here, or the living room where we have our interview with Scrimgeour in the later films. But I think enough happens in the kitchen that this can be my Burrow display. Just here on the side is where I'm going to put Molly's clock, and I'll probably use the one that's in my Burrow once I've built it. But for now this is the Burrow. So let's move on to our next chronological home. Right, we're down to our next slice of books, and we've moved on to Prisoner of Azkaban for our next interior, which is the Shrieking Shack. So this is again with a fold away build that I did on a live stream 2 years ago now, easily. But again, it's been given its dedicated base. This might get a bit of a retouch because the walls are a little bit random. I quite like them. It looks ragged and stuff. We've got all the features, the fireplace and the mirror, the slatted doors. We've got our sticker parts from the set where the walls have been torn away. Oh, look, there's Snape just behind the bed there where he's been blasted. Got a custom made 4 poster and the doors out into the other room. Obviously the only other character that's missing from here because he's being a rat, is Peter Pettigrew, but we can use this to display our Shrieking Shack scene from Prisoner of Azkaban. So that's building from episode 3, and I think now we move on to Goblet of Fire. So next display, it's slightly smaller, only 16 studs wide. This is from Goblet of Fire, and this is the Riddle House. It's another build I've made in the last year. Here we can see Pettigrew, Lord Voldemort, and my mock version of Barty Crouch Jr., along with Frank Bryce and Nagini. This obviously is from that opening scene from the Goblet of Fire, as plans are afoot to reconstitute Voldemort's body. So that's our next display. Quite a nice small one. I like the fact we get a bit of storytelling in this, with Frank outside eavesdropping on the conversation as Nagini comes in and grasses him up. Nice simple build, and again somewhere to put minifigs that don't really appear anywhere else. So that's the Riddle House. Let's move on. So we're back in the big stack for the next house, and we've moved on another story into Order of the Phoenix. And here of course we have number 12, Dremel Place. So here we have the Dusty Dumbledore Spectre. Obviously doesn't appear in Order of the Phoenix, that's from Deathly Hallows, but he tends to live in here just so I remember where he is. Still got to get a sofa in here, still haven't made one since the last time I showed this mock off a couple of years ago. Again, this was in a book, and now it's on its own dedicated base, and I've had a few adjustments since it was in the book, and I think it's a little the better for it. Over here in the kitchen, it's a lot more accurate to what we see in the movie. So we've got the range sort of in the old fireplace, and then the dresser with all the plates on the wall. The colour's a bit better, this medium nougat. It's kind of a, I don't know, dirty salmon pink, the kitchen in the movie. And I didn't know what colour would best. Coral was a bit too much, and I didn't really have any pieces in coral, so I went with medium nougat. But that does mean it's very samey with the living room, which I originally did in medium nougat, I think because the bricks came in the Dremel Place set, so I had them on hand. Obviously, as you can see, not enough, so I've had to use a dark orange snot brick. But I think this needs to change, because in the Deathly Hallows, when we spend a lot more time in the living room, I think we've got like silver or grey. It's very hard to tell what colour it is with the huge amount of colour grading in those movies. But I think we're going to darken this down, make it a bit more sinister and a bit more creepy. The carpet I'm not super happy with. I wish there was a way to get like a half stud extra height. I mean, there are ways, but not on one plate. I just would love the carpet to stand proud of this. I might have a little rework, maybe make it a solid colour, because it's a fairly faded out pattern carpet, so it's tricky to know how best to do it. Got our portrait stickers on the wall. Got Mama Black's portrait behind there. The nice parquet floor that matches the movie. Of course, greystone in the kitchen, and I'm fairly happy with that. There is going to be some reworking on this. If you know the books but not the movies, we've got the writing desk here, which has a boggart hiding in it for those scenes where Molly comes to get rid of it, and it shows all her dead children, which is a cheerful and uplifting scene that I'm not surprised they left out in the movies. Okay, so that is our Order of the Phoenix building. Let's move on to Half-Blood Prince now. In the Half-Blood Prince, we are introduced to another new home, and this is, of course, the home of Severus Snape, which is Spinner's End. And here is my Spinner's End, but where's Bella gone? Oh, she's off doing some dark deeds somewhere else, clearly. This is my Spinner's End mock. The living room in the books is described as being coloured wall to wall in books, so that's what I tried to replicate here. Again, nothing special in our bookcases, pretty much pulling out every possible trick of how to create a bookshelf, and it's all snot built. It's quite an interesting video to watch, that one, seeing it all get put together. Here we've got Narcissa, the old one from many years ago, was it 2010, 2011? The original Narcissa, and of course Snape making the unbreakable vow. And usually Bella's in the scene, but I don't know where she's got to. Must be showing her off somewhere else. Just got a armchair and a reading lamp, quite a nice patterned carpet, and loads of books. So that's the home we get shown in the Half-Blood Prince. Let's go on to the juicy bits. Now, I said I was going to go chronologically, and that was a bit of a fib because I want to finish big. So I'm skipping one. We're going to look at that one in a moment. And we're back in the stack for our last build, which is the Lovegood House living room. Again, I've been making a few adjustments to this, obviously breaking it out of the book and giving it its dedicated spot. I've been able to make a few changes, and I have here at the front here you can see that the banisters from the spiral staircase still need a bit of adjustment. I've got a new bottom piece and then the red piece for the top of the banister. That's going to be adjusted fairly soon. Now that it's in a permanent spot, I'm considering putting the big paper spools, but I think I'll have the same situation that I have with the rafters at the Weasleys, so I don't know if I wanna, so I probably won't. So this is the Lovegood House. Again, fairly faithfully based on the movies, and if you've seen the build video of that, it shows you each of the various aspects that are shown in the set there, the things we get to see on screen fairly well represented here. Obviously it's a much rounder build, and although I have got round corners, you can see the backs of the curved bricks, there's so much junk in the corners you can't actually see that I've bothered to do it, but I did, so it's there. So there is my mock of Xeno Lovegood. Again, covered the pieces and parts that I used in that in one of my minifig breakdown videos. So I'm covering family members. If I remember, I will link that above. There we go, we've got our fireplace and our rampant horn. The banisters for the stairs are new, and the coffee table is also new in here. But other than that, it's pretty much exactly as you see in the previous version of this build. Okay, so there's the Lovegood House. Let's move on to our final home from the Deathly Hallows. So here we are with my last home mock display, and it's a big one. Now some of you may be thinking, hang on, I can think of at least 2 homes that you haven't shown us yet. One of those is the one I've got here. The other is Shell Cottage, which I haven't really built. In fact, I haven't built at all. There's no real scenes in Shell Cottage. Stuff happens, people sit on beds and talk to each other. It's not a huge amount. It's fairly pivotal, but more pivotal is what they do after being in Shell Cottage. I'm considering doing an exterior scene for just to allude to that period of the story, because obviously we lose a fairly popular main character. No spoilers here, but I'd like to be able to maybe show their grave or the moment of their demise. I haven't decided which. If you have a preference of what you'd like to see in that regard, I can most certainly do that. Shell Cottage would be a nice exterior to build, I think, just to have a little flex on actually building something that's not just furniture. But that is something for the future, and if people are keen to see that, then I very well may do that. But this is my Malfoy Manor mock, now fully updated with all the new parts and pieces from the new set, and I am very pleased with it. Let's get a little bit lower so you can see what's what. So here is the dining room at Malfoy Manor. This area was recreated in the latest Malfoy Manor set, and to say I was disappointed in the scale is a bit of an understatement. This one, I tried to get the dimensions pretty much exactly as you see them in the set. If you've ever done the studio tour, you can actually, you know, walk right up to this part of the set, and the proportions are pretty much spot on for that piece of set. And it also gives me just enough space to display all of the named Death Eater characters that they have produced. Finally, got these big stickered parts from the new Malfoy Manor, and I really needed those because they really do fill up that space much better than the tiny like 2x3 portraits that I had on there before. Let's see if we can get in close and see what's what. So Lucius is in his new torso, in his open collared shirt. Still got to find a more dishevelled and distressed face, and I've got a few ideas for that. Got the Hogwarts Express or Room Requirement Malfoy. That's a much better one than the nonsense they give you in that latest set. The new version of Narcissa and Bellatrix. Got Snape lurking around the corner. Voldemort and Nagini. And all the others. So we've got McNair and Yaxley and Greyback and Wormtail and Plastic Ness. And then hanging from the ceiling, looking all distressed and a bit dead, we have Professor Charity Burbage as the centre of entertainment for the evening for our Death Eaters. I cannot tell you how ridiculously pleased I was under here on these tilt tables to find one in tan. I've only just recently found those, and they were like hen's teeth. They just could not be found anywhere. But I got some, and finally my back wall is an uninteresting monochrome. We've got the Malfoy family crest on the fireplace back there, which you can almost certainly not see in any kind of clarity, but it's there, promise, just like these two new photos. And then also from the latest set, let's find him, there he is, hanging out on the chandelier, which is a more recent addition to this MOC. It wasn't in there originally, but now that we've got a Dobby to knock it down, we can hang Dobby from the chandelier. There he is. So I think that covers all of the houses and homes that I've got in my collection. There's one more piece of accommodation, and I call it accommodation because I don't think anyone would call it home, that I'm working on at the moment, and I will show you that as a sense of completeness. So here is my current MOC that I'm working on. It's a bit of a sketch pass of what I'm thinking about doing, and this, as you can probably tell from the windows, is Aszaban. So just a little interior scene of Aszaban. We're going to have 3 cells. This one up here will probably, we might have a random prisoner in it. Might try and mock up a Barty Crouch in prison. Because I think I want to be able to swap Sirius, who's going to be in this downstairs cell, with Barty for various different reasons, one of which I'll show you in a moment. But the majority of the space inside this cell towards the back is going to be taken up with a battery box for a light kit. So I do want to light this because you can't really see into the cells very well, but I do want you to be able to see them, because let's see if we can get this. As you can see, this cell is empty, and now there's a dog in it. You wouldn't believe it. There is. It's a black dog in a dark grey box full of shadows. And what I've done is I've just put a little slider in here. I don't think the wall's even going to be necessary, but so we can have Sirius in his human and then in his dog forms inside. And likewise, this could be a scene towards the end of Goblet of Fire, where Barty Crouch is broken out by his parents, and we can start off with Mama Crouch and swap it to Barty and vice versa. And then up in our final cell, up here, we have somebody who's paying no attention to what's going on at all, and this is going to be Bellatrix, because we've got this little breakaway wall, and Bellatrix is very pleased to be able to leave Azkaban. So this is the MOC I'm working on now. It's a little display. Again, it's all stuff that's even in the books sort of off screen. It's all just alluded to and referred to. But I had a bit of space. No idea how I was going to fill it. And so maybe it'll be filled with an Aszaban. Let me know what you think about this new MOC. Whether I should bother to carry on, if you've got any ideas for other things I could do. The original plan, I will tell you now, and I had no idea how to engineer it, was to have, who's the geezer? Fudge. Cornelius Fudge and a couple of Dementors walking along outside, so they would pass by, see Sirius Black, and as they strolled by, that would activate the mechanism inside the cell, dragging it by so that when they had passed the cell, there'd be the dog in there instead. So it was sort of the same sort of idea, and if I can work out how to do it, definitely will do it. I did like that idea. You then don't see the transformation because the minifigs pass in front of the door, and it's just as they go past, there's a dog there as well. But this does need to get lit, so I do need to fill in, get a little LED in the top here, and get that battery box installed. But that will be an adventure for the future. So there we go. Those are my wizarding homes slash accommodations slash places stuff happen. Most of the other MOCs that I've got up on my shelf, if they're not part of the Tri-Wizard tournament, then they are generally ways to travel. And I think the next review will be a little look at my wizarding transportation, which you'll be pleased to hear is going to be a much shorter video than this. So all that remains to say is thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please do leave us a like, share it with your friends to help grow the channel. And for more Wizarding World MOC builds, please subscribe to Bricking It. Bye bye.